Let's burn on Voodoo Force. Now I've got a kind of weird little project today. I'm making some pocket pry bars. Now, what is a pocket pry bar? I didn't know either until not very long ago. A buddy of mine and I were talking about things, unusual things that could be forged, and he said you should make some pocket pry bars. And I don't know what that is. It's a little pry bar that you carry in your pocket as part of your EDC, which is everyday carry. So I was like, I don't think I would have much use for that. And he pointed out that like 20 minutes before I was using my pocket knife to pry on something. So I was like, okay, maybe so. So this is my take on a hand-forged pocket pry bar. So check it out. Here's my material. This is a large American made wrench that has seen better days. This is a what is it? Lesota. Okay, I looked it up. It's not worth anything, so nobody freak out. And it's also clearly bent. And I've got a million wrenches in this size. It's 1 inch and 15/16. I've got that covered. So we're good. This isn't a Fabergé egg. Calm down. Okay, first thing to do is cut this box down off. So there we go. First thing we're going to do is just straighten this thing out real quick. Straighten this end out. Now I'm just going to let it air cool to the ambient temperature. Has cooled down nice and good. So now I'm just going to mark it into 3 roughly the same size shapes, and I'm going to cut that end I kind of boogered up with the plasma up, get it smooth, and then get this cut into pieces. Now while everything is nice and cool, I want to go ahead and drill a hole in one end of these. I'm using the fatter end of the material. See where this tapers down here? So to put my hole in on the piece that's got out of the middle, I just picked it in. But I want to go ahead and get a hole drilled in them. Nothing super special here. I'm just using the bit that's in here. I think this is 11/64 or something. Now we normalize this steel, but I can tell drilling it, this is just a medium carbon steel at best. But a medium carbon steel should be just fine for what we're doing. Okay, so somehow right here I missed the forging part. So I'm going to show you on some similar but not identical material, but it's the same process, and then we'll go back to the real material. I'm sorry, I'm an idiot. So on short notice, this is the closest I could come to the material. What I'm doing is I'm just tapering it down from one side, flattening it out. So it's got a taper on this side and it's staying flat on that side. And that's it. That's all the forging we're doing on this end. Everything else will be fixed grinding. So now, back to real footage. Since grinding is our next step, I'm going to bring these back up to temperature and then normalize them one more time just to get stresses out. Everything's at temperature, so I'm gonna bring it all out. Let it cool to ambient room temperature. And then we can do our grinding. Now I've laid the pieces up on the forge. This isn't going to be the quickest spot for them to cool off. It's not going to be the slowest either. I could have left them in the forge. I could have buried them in vermiculite or sand or wood ashes to anneal them, but we're just kind of normalizing them. So it'll still be a while before I'm handling those. Okay, so this thing has cooled down now. So the first thing I'm going to do is take it to my grinder. Now I'm not doing the complete grinding, just the basic shaping. Now at this point you can decide, do you want this flat across here or do you want it to have a little bit of curve? I want this one to be flat, so I'm going to keep grinding. That's going to be enough over here, so I'm going to go over to a belt grinder. By the way, you don't need a bench grinder, a belt grinder, or even an angle grinder to do this. You can do all of this with a file and sandpaper if you want to, but if you have a bench grinder, a belt grinder, and an angle grinder, I would go that route. But you don't have to. I'm going down here to the contact wheel to take most of these grinder marks out. As we've been going along, I've been quenching this in water to keep it cool. I'm picking one side to put just an eyeballed bevel on. I don't want to put a bevel on both sides. Okay, so this has cleaned up both sides, and I put a single bevel on it like you would a wood chisel. And it's not super sharp. It's not so sharp that it's going to cut you. It's up to you how sharp you want it, but since this is something that it's probably going to end up in your pocket, you don't want it to be razor sharp. Now I'm just going to use the belt to bevel the back a little bit, and we'll be done with it. Alright, one down. Alright, there's all three of them. I did them all a little different. Now, I'm going to throw them back in the forge because I want to put a little bit of a bend. Just bend this up a little bit so you have a little more leverage with them when you're using them. And so I'm just making sure that my bevel's facing up and putting just ever so slight of a curve in this, just for leverage. Okay, so I'm going to try to harden and temper this in one step. We know we're at critical temperature, so I'm going to quench in the oil, but I'm not quenching it all the way. Now I've got that. I done dropped it like a dummy. So I've got that quenched down. I'm wiping it. I'm bringing it over here to the anvil, and I'm polishing this. I'm watching the colors run. You see the purple? I don't know if you can tell, but there's a purple run. I'm tempering it to purple. It's almost run all the way to the end. I can hold on to this thing. That's going to do it. We're going to go back in the oil, stop the tempering. as you can see, I'm not tempering the whole thing. And what this does is lets me keep the heat in the back, and that's what I'll use to temper it. This one, I'm still just going to tip the very end of it, but I'm going to let it cool all the way down. And I'm going to do this one in a two-step process. So I'm keeping that heat from coming back and tempering it by taking it in and out of the oil. The color's dropped down enough. Once I get that color back to a black heat, or at least a cherry red, I'll go ahead and quench this whole thing. There we go. Now we'll let her sit there and cool off. Now once I've let this completely cool off, I'll polish it, and then I'll temper it by using a torch, and you can see the colors run and get a better idea of what I'm talking about. Cooled off. First I'm going to get a little bit of this oil off the degreaser so it'll be easier to clean up. Not a really crazy step. Now I'm going to take some emery cloth, kind of repolish this. It doesn't have to be a mirror finish, it just has to have some mirrored spots in it, if that makes sense. Like this doesn't have to be your final finish, but you have to have enough of this gunk cleaned off of it to be able to watch the colors run. And that, I believe, has both sides clean enough. I'm not sure if I even did any of that where the camera could see. Sorry about that. There. That should be clean. Clean enough. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm heating the base of this with a MAP gas torch. And this will take some time, but eventually the colors will start to run, and when I get a nice blue or purple at the cutting edge, that's when I will stick this back in the oil and stop the whole tempering process. When you're doing this, you definitely get a differential heat treatment because you want it to be softer on the back of the pry bar than the prying edge. Kind of like a cold chisel. Okay, the colors are right there at the bend. You can see them starting to make their way up. We got that nice purple coming in behind the bronze and the nice blue behind that. Purple at the edge, so we're going to quench it. And that should stop all of our changing in there. Alright, well there we go. There's 3 different styles and 2 different hardening processes for these little pocket pry bars. Something else I thought about doing with them was drifting this little lanyard hole out to be a hex head where you could put a bit in there and use it, but that may be a little too much. Might be overthinking it. Sometimes simple tools are the best tools. And honestly, these are not the lightest thing in the world. I mean, they're not heavy by any means, but they're not, you know, it's not real thin titanium or something like that. So this is the kind of thing that I'm going to leave in a pack or a truck console or something. Anyway, this is my take on them. What do y'all think? Do you think having a little pry bar handy is a good idea, bad idea? What do you think about the material I used? Just what are your thoughts? Anyway, hope y'all got something out of this and y'all behave yourselves.